as well, so we don't have to endure rebroadcasts. Hopefully, by the end of this program, I'll be used to the new commercial breaks. For those of you who are not tuning in, didn't tune in last week and are first time tuning in tonight, we are no longer having a big commercial block at the bottom of the hour. We're having every 15 minutes a 3 minute commercial break. It was a long time coming, and it's finally here, so we'll get used to that. I don't want to take up too much time. I want to say this. For all those of you who sent me emails and in the chat room right now asking if I'm recharged and ready to go, the answer is absolutely yes. I'm going to have a lot of commentary videos coming out on current events. Some of them are in the headlines today. I'm not going to take up a bunch of Gary's time and Sterling's time with that right now, but I'll cover a little bit of that in the second hour with Doug Newberry. He's going to join me for hour number 2. We're going to talk about his new program over on Oracle. So hang out. We got Gary Hendershot and we have Sterling Allen coming on now. Now, just real quickly, last week we had on Mark Dempsey, and the Aussie, and he was kind of, I guess, as Gary would describe, the bad cop in alternative energy. He likes to really analyze things, break it down, and comes out usually on the side of the bad cop. Very interesting interview, but tonight Gary has brought us Sterling Allen, who's going to be the good cop for alternative energy. So good balance here. So let's sit back and listen to Gary and Sterling talk about things that are far above my head, but I'm really glad we have this segment because as we see what's happening in the world, alternative energy is becoming more and more relevant every single day. So without further ado, before we get to that first commercial break, let me bring on Gary Hendershot, the Smart Scarecrow program, every Thursday night over on Justin TV. You can watch him do this thing live, 9 p.m. East Coast time. Gary Hendershot, how are you? Thank you once again for co-hosting with me on Monday night. As we see what's happening in the world, alternative energy is becoming more and more relevant every single day. So without further ado, before we get to that first commercial break, let me bring on Gary Hendershot, the Smart Scarecrow program, every Thursday night over on Justin TV. You can watch him do this thing live, 9 p.m. East Coast time. Gary Hendershot, how are you? Thank you once again for co-hosting with me on Monday night.
Well, it's always a pleasure, Charlie. And I appreciate that real nice introduction. That was very kind of you. But to anybody out there who's interested, you can find most all of my material centrally located at smartscarecrow.com, including a viewer and a chat room that lets you engage in chat with other folks. And I do broadcasts Thursday evening at that location, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And as Charlie mentioned, my guest this evening is Mr. Sterling Allen. Now, Sterling comes to us as something of a noted expert in the field, if you will. I'm not sure he'd claim the title of expert. He's a journalist who publishes up-to-date information on what's going on with alternative energy issues. His websites are most easily reached at PESN.com. That's PESN.com, or freeenergynews.com. And Sterling Allen, are you there, sir?
I am. Thanks for having me on.
Well, how you doing, man? It's let's see, Sterling. Sterling does a short segment with me on the weekly program every Thursday evening. He's a regular on the Smart Scarecrow show that I do on Justin TV. And Sterling, you've been active over the last few days. I'm kind of crossing my fingers here, thinking you got quite a bit to discuss with us.
Always lots to say. Yep, no doubt about that.
Well, it's a good thing when there's a lot of news in alternative energy. That's that to me is always good news. So what's happening in the wild and woolly world of alternative energy this past week?
Well, there's good news and bad news. In any one of these technologies, you have plenty of controversy, one side versus the other side that was mentioned earlier. And I have actually written both sides on one of the technologies that was in our top 5 that I've dropped out of the top 5 because of some concerns about how things are being presented there. But there is a lot going on, especially in the cold fusion sector. For those who might not be familiar that there's anything substantial going on in the world of cold fusion, the mainstream science says that cold fusion was really never replicated. It's junk science, and we'll never see anything substantial come from it. And in the commercial sector, there are around 12 companies right now. We're talking companies, not individuals, companies that are in process at various stages of bringing substantial cold fusion technology to market. We're talking kilowatt level heating devices or more that could heat a home and eventually even spin a turbine in a power generation plant. NASA's gotten a patent on it. National Instruments is coming up with instrumentation to measure the effects that they're seeing in the cold fusion world. Very, very alive and exciting. We could easily spend the entire time just talking about what's going on in cold fusion.
But how much mainstream media press has cold fusion gotten recently? Have you seen any reports on the supposed leaders of the pack?
Nope. They are basically zipping their lips and keeping quiet. They had an opportunity to chime in with the passing of Martin Fleischmann a couple of weeks ago. Not quite 2 weeks yet.
Tell people who Martin Fleischmann is, because there's probably a lot out there who have no idea why we are eulogizing this fellow, Martin Fleischmann.
Martin Fleischmann is one of the most brilliant scientists, very highly decorated and recognized. He was one of the two scientists in the Pons and Fleischmann pair at the University of Utah in 1989 who announced that they achieved fusion at basically room temperature using palladium rods inside of a water bath with some other stuff going on. And it made huge news. It became a cannonball splash in the world of media. It was getting tons of attention. And it was basically shut up by a supposed replication attempt out of MIT by a group, I should add, that had a vested interest or a conflict of interest. They were in hot fusion, and if cold fusion were proved to be real, it would make their hot fusion funding dry up. And we're talking about billions of dollars that were being sunk into hot fusion. And so they were trying to replicate the cold fusion technology, and before they were even done with their research, they held a wake for cold fusion and basically a mock funeral for cold fusion. The wind of that went around, and basically from that one thing, cold fusion became junk science and was poo-poo in academia. You could not talk about it with a straight face lest you be considered a crackpot or in the fringe. And so when Martin Fleischmann died a couple weeks ago, there was an article that came out in the Associated Press that most people just copied and posted without any research of their own. And it basically said, yeah, Martin Fleischmann was this great scientist. He made a big blooper when it came to cold fusion, and he kind of regretted using that term. And at this point, the only people involved in cold fusion are out there in the fringe of science. There's really nothing to go see. Just you can ignore it. Keep on doing what you're doing. There's nothing going on there. The thing is, the guy that wrote that report is a person I met at the Andrea Rossi demonstration of a 1 megawatt cold fusion power plant in Bologna, Italy on October 28, 2011. His name is Peter Svensson, S-V-E-N-S-S-O-N. He's in New York, works for the Associated Press. And what we saw there was not indisputed, but was very significant and deserved press, and he never said a peep about it. They never published anything. They sent him over there, and he didn't write anything about it. And what we saw there was for 5 hours, this device ran from its own heat.
There's that first break at 17 minutes. Folks, hang on. Understand this is a short one. We'll be right. Make it. We made it back from the break. Sterling, you were doing a brief eulogy on Mr. Fleischman, as we pause for the break, maybe you'd like to wrap that up. Tell us why his contributions were important. But maybe we could talk a little bit about what's happening now, and was Fleischman vindicated for his belief in cold fusion back in the 80s?
Yeah, so maybe that would be a good question to start out with, to go back to what we were talking about. In January of 2011, a year and a half ago, Andrea Rossi had a press conference over in Bologna, Italy, announcing that he had achieved, and demonstrating at the press conference, he had achieved a several kilowatt output of heat that defies any possible chemical reaction taking place, that therefore it must be nuclear, given the amount of energy that was coming out versus the amount of energy it took to maintain the reaction. It does take some heat to get the reaction going, and the resistors and whatnot take energy. And that then became the rage in the alternative media, led by our news service and a few others who have been tracking the ECAT ever since. There have been a lot of demonstrations of the technology to various groups, including the Swedish Skeptics Society. There have been various groups that have gone in to license the technology to help distribute it. And the big thing that he was shooting for was, in October, he wanted to demonstrate to the world a 1 megawatt power plant. 1 megawatt, for those of you who don't really follow energy, you see those locomotives pulling trains down the road? One of the earlier versions of a locomotive would be a kilowatt. A megawatt. That's a lot of energy. And of course, in this case, we're talking about heat, not locomotion, but you get the idea of the ballpark of the amount of energy we're talking about. And he did indeed finish his unit. It contained 100 plus modules together, producing a combined amount possible of 1 megawatt. The day that they did the demonstration, he had some problems. He had a choice that they had to make, either to demonstrate 1 megawatt with constant input or self-running at half power output. And the group that was the first customer who was purchasing the device chose the latter, the half a megawatt. So they ran it at half a megawatt with the output powering the input with energy left over, the half a megawatt. And they did that for 5.5 hours, and at the end of that demonstration, the scientists who was there, the scientists who were there on behalf of the customer, did a brief report that was read to us who were present. There were about 30 of us from around the world who were at that event, and announced that they had achieved, and the customer was happy with the test, and that they had achieved a half a megawatt for half a day, basically, in self-run mode. That's very significant. And the AP writer was there at that event, chose to write nothing about it, so it didn't go into AP. It was picked up in PhysOrg. PhysOrg referred to my article of the event, was quite skeptical about it. Popular Science picked it up, was even more skeptical, and it kind of went downhill from there. So there was a little bit of press that was picked up in the mainstream, but largely jaundiced. Meanwhile, in the sector, there have been a number of other companies that have come along that have gotten involved, that were involved before, that are progressing to the point where they also are talking about going to market and are out in the public eye. And we track those in our news. I do a LENR weekly, where LENR stands for low energy nuclear reaction, the more scientific phrase for cold fusion, which of course has a black eye nowadays. And we report on this 20 to 40 different stories each week that come up from around the internet. Usually there's one or two from the mainstream press here or there, sometimes somewhat favorable, other times skeptical. But it's very entertaining, very interesting to see what's going on, and very significant, because cold fusion represents a very cheap and clean source of energy. Even though it's nuclear, you don't have radiation that you have to get rid of when you're done with this process to hide
No
somewhere.
pools of highly radioactive fuel rods or anything like that laying around?
Nothing whatsoever along those lines. And
So,
no
I mean,
radioactive
technically,
compounds.
this device would be, in theory, it would be safe for someone to run one of these devices in the basement of their home if they really wanted to.
Yep. There's actually a couple of companies who are working on just such an application to take to market within a year or so.
Now, the interesting thing about a small device like that is it kind of changes the paradigm. You know, it puts a device in the hands of the individual that puts them in control of creating energy. It could, in theory, take somebody off the grid. Would you like to head down that path at all, or did you have other thoughts you wanted to get out?
No, that's very relevant. That's exactly why I think the mainstream press is ignoring it, is because the powers that be that control the mainstream press basically say, don't touch this one, there's nothing there. And they, being the prostitutes that they are, willfully obey and talk about other more
Well,
frivolous
Sterling,
things.
here's the next break. This is the half-hour break, folks. This one's just a little bit longer, but please do be patient with us. We will be right back.
All I wish is to be alone. Stay away, don't you invade my home. Best out if you hang outside. Don't come in, I'll only run and hide. Who can it be now? Who can it be?
Hey guys, it's Charlie McGrath with Wide Awake News Radio and wideawakenews.com. In 2007, 26 million Americans were on food stamps. 2012, the numbers exploded to over 46 million people relying on the government to put food on the table. Debt's out of control across the planet, pushing us towards a financial Armageddon. Talk of war seems to fill every newscast. And disasters, both man-made and natural, seem to be on the rise. Can you think of a better time in history than now to be prepared for the unexpected? Guys, I want to introduce you to our new partners in alternative media. BuyEmergencyFoods.com. BuyEmergencyFoods.com offers the best kind of emergency food, Legacy Premium, with the largest variety available in the freeze-dried food industry. Each meal is packed for freshness in an individual nitrogen-flushed Mylar pouch. The meal is then sealed in a stackable heavy-duty plastic container that's easy to store, easy to transport, and won't be damaged by water or rodents. So if you're worried about food inflation, economic crisis, unemployment, natural disaster, then don't delay. Prepare your family now. Visit our new partners in alternative media, BuyEmergencyFoods.com. Give them a call at 888-543-7345, or again, visit them at BuyEmergencyFoods.com.
You're listening to Charlie nationwide and worldwide on the internet on the Rinse Radio Network.
Are you in debt, having sleepless nights, sick of constant creditor phone calls? Want a guaranteed solution? Become a member of DebtorManagementSystems.com and we will take all of your creditor calls. That's right, we'll manage all of your creditor calls. Go to DebtorManagementSystems.com and join up today. Or call 855-332-8782. That's 855-332-8782. Join today and take the stress out of your life. Are you having trouble paying your mortgage? Maybe your mortgage loan is upside down or in foreclosure. Maybe the bank already foreclosed on you. Don't be a victim of bank fraud. Fight back. Here's how. Go to InspectorAudit.com and find out the truth about your loan. Did you know that 78% of the loans in the last 10 years violated consumer credit laws? We should not let the banks get away with that kind of fraud. Go to InspectorAudit.com or call 855-373-4948. That's 855-373-4948. And start fighting bank fraud today.
Heart-related health problems affect millions of people each year. Maybe you're one of the many who suffer from issues related to angina pain, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, unbalanced cholesterol, irregular heartbeat, or clogged arteries. There is a solution that doesn't involve expensive prescription drugs that only mask the problem and leave you with horrible side effects. If you are ready to live your life free of sickness, pain, and fear, live your life with increased vitality, energy, and youthfulness, and experience your body healing itself, then you're ready for Heart and Body Extract from Healthy Hearts Club. Heart and Body Extract has a 23-year proven track record of using certified organic herbs that make up an excellent formula to balance and support the heart and circulatory system. In as little as 2 weeks, you can feel amazing results when your 2-month supply of Heart and Body Extract today. Call 1-866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
Okay, and we are back from our second break. Well, Sterling, I'll tell you, we've got, I think, 2 more 9.5-minute segments here to try to make all of our bullet points. I'm going to kind of shut up and let you take it away because I know you got some things you really wanted to discuss, so I will only interrupt you if it's really, really important. So take it away, man. See if you can finish your thoughts on the cold fusion issues.
Yeah, well, I just kind of giving the synopsis of what's happened in the last year. There's a lot of very significant developments that are far more newsworthy and poignant to our economic well-being and our energy future than most of what you're hearing in your day-to-day news, especially the celebrity crap that you hear, that, you know, whether somebody just got a haircut or not. It's so silly, the kind of stuff that they call news, when there's this kind of thing going on. They could provide energy for each house cheaper than what you pay from the grid, and it's clean, completely clean. You power your cars with it in a couple of years once they do all the engineering on it.
I had one guy out in the chat room there that's apparently a proponent for thorium nuclear. I mean, is that something that is even something you track? You tend to track the more exotic forms of
yeah, we've got a page on thorium on our website at pezwiki.com where it is much better than what we have now. It's not nearly as radioactive in terms of the deathly kinds of stuff that comes out of the regular nuclear reactors.
But it still does produce nuclear waste, not at the volumes that our current technology does, but there is still production of nuclear waste, and it's not like these things, you know, I can't imagine having a thorium reactor cooking off in my basement, would you?
No, you wouldn't do that. But yeah, you could do a cold fusion reactor, no problem. So thorium's good. Cold fusion's much better. And cold fusion is in process of emerging. So read up on it. Check out our news and follow us on a weekly basis. See what's going on the LENR sector.
And we do produce a weekly update on the low-energy nuclear reaction technology, and you
it's a weekly synopsis of all the news.
About Wednesday, you usually publish that?
Thursday, right before our show.
Good. Okay. In any case, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but, you know, as usual, you know, I got to get my big mouth in there. You go ahead, take it away.
Okay. Another thing I wanted to mention really quick in other news in the free energy sector, there's some really good news here. There's an article over at theoatmeal.com, the initiative that was launched in part, large measure by them. They get a lot of traffic. And the initiative is called Let's Build a Goddamn Tesla Museum. You know, that Wardenclyffe Tower that was torn down because the old J.P. Morgan didn't want to give away free energy. And when he found out that that's what Tesla was up to, he said, that's enough of that. And then they wanted the scrap metal for the war, and so they ripped it down. And anyway, the land's up for sale right now, and the state of New York has offered to go down half if somebody comes up with the other half to build a Tesla museum. And so these guys said, let's build a goddamn Tesla museum. And in the first 4 or 5 days, they're already 3/4 of the way to their $850,000 they want to raise.
That is some hopeful news. So there's enough people out there who know who Tesla was and what his contributions were that they're actually willing to chip in out of their own pocket to see that the man gets a proper memorial.
Yeah, and you look at the level of donations that some people put in, it's pretty amazing. But there are 17,891 funders so far. They have 40 days left, and in the first 4 days, they're almost reaching their goal.
So you're talking about a lot of people, they had $20 or they had $50. That's all they had, but man, they chipped it in because they recognize this as being a good cause.
Yep.
That's good news. I like hearing that kind of story.
Yeah. And it also helps build the mantra of what Tesla was about. And, the first half of his life, he built the foundation for the 20th century, the 21st century, the 20th century. The second half of his life, he built the foundation for what could be the 21st century, because he was so far ahead of what he did in the first half of his life that they basically just ignored him and marginalized him. The first half of his life, he did AC power, radio, X-ray, neon lights, and think about lighting, think about AC power. Everything nowadays is AC power. What would modern world be without AC power? And you have, and the induction motor, you have Nikola Tesla to thank for that. And he had a lot more where that's coming from, and so we're just now, let's build a museum and honor the guy for what he did in the first half of his life and look toward the second half of his life, things coming into fruition through an awareness of what an amazing scientist he was. He doesn't even get a mention in the typical textbook, college or elementary textbooks. They just ignore him completely. And he's such an amazing inventor. So that one I wanted to bring up. Another thing I wanted to talk about with you, and maybe we could use the last segment on this, but my brother brought something to my attention the other day when we were visiting. There's a new law that has been brought into place thanks to our senator here in Utah, Senator Hatch. The patent law has gone from first to invent to first to file. And it seemed benign enough, sailed right through, was passed. The problem is that the people who get really rich are the attorneys, because now there are a bunch of trolls out there looking for stuff that's not patented, and they file a patent on it and then go after the inventor for using it.
Incredible. And
so the incentive for inventing is greatly diminished because of that. My brother doing software, basically everything you write is novel and new and can be patented, but people just don't go through the process because it's such a pain in the neck and it's expensive and time consuming. So you might do things on major things, but otherwise you just basically put your code out there and it's yours. You got copyrights and whatnot to protect you. But now these patent trolls, thanks to Orrin Hatch, who is an attorney, by the way, has a vested conflict of interest here, has come up with a law that enables people to, now you can get a patent if you're first to file. And so you go out and you look for stuff that's unprotected, that's out there in use, and you file a patent, and now it's yours. And you go sue the company and get a bunch of money, get a bunch of lawyers rich.
Now, what does that do to the open source public domain community? I mean, people that come up with a widget and they just say, hey, everybody, here's this nifty widget I came up with. I am not going to patent it. I'm not going to do anything with it. Anybody who wants it, take it away. How does it impact that? Because, there's a lot of people who have quite literally published the plans for unique devices, some of them in the alternative energy realm, others in other areas. And they've just said, I donate this to the public domain. Anybody who wants to can make it. How does this impact them?
It has the same effect. It puts a huge damper on it because now somebody else comes along, they see that, they throw a patent on it, and now they have the right to sue. And so they sue whoever's using that, and they get to get their money for it because they have the legal right to sue because it's got a patent on it.
And I want to stress to the audience that this is a fundamental change. I mean, it may seem like a small thing to many, but this is a fundamental change in the way we do things. And I think I hear that darn music starting up again. Sterling, we're going to have to sit back and cool our heels for yet another couple of minutes. Yep, there it is. It's coming. And folks, please be patient. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hey guys, it's Charlie McGrath of wideawakenews.com and Wide Awake News Radio. 2%, this is the number that the federal government wants you to believe represents inflation in our country. 2%. Now maybe that's true if we back out necessity items we need just to live, such as energy and food. But the fact of the matter is, I don't have to tell you food prices are on the increase. They have been for years, and it's going to continue to rise. The real question is, are we getting better quality food for this increase in price? According to the CDC, the answer is no. A March 2012 report shows foodborne illnesses are on the rise. Guys, we are so lucky to have the folks at seedsnow.com as sponsors of Wide Awake News Radio. Not only are Chris and the folks at seedsnow.com offering thousands of non-GMO, non-hybrid, non-Frankenfood seeds that can go out the door today, they're looking into the future as well and offering outstanding values on things such as the Mini Mega Seed Bank with over 48,000 seeds and the Mega Super Survival Seed Kit with over 58,000 seeds. Seedsnow.com is a sponsor of Wide Awake News Radio because they care about alternative media and they care about getting the truth out. So let's support those that support alternative media. And if you go there today and put in the promo code WideAwake10, you will receive an instant 10% discount on all your orders. So please visit seedsnow.com and use the promo code WideAwake10 to receive your discount.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity and is safe for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com, spelled BIOAGE.com, BioAge.com, or call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioAge, the age of advanced organics.
In 2010, millions became awakened to the reality of chemtrails. These geoengineering programs have broad environmental and human health consequences. Why in the world are they spraying? Is a stunning investigation into one of the agendas associated with chemtrailing and weather control. What are the military uses of chemtrails? Is the public slowly being poisoned? What are the financial market implications of these programs? How does geoengineering fit with Agenda 21? How do chemtrails advance the GMO agenda? For the answers to these and many more critical questions, order Why in the World Are They Spraying? Today at www.whyintheworldaretheyspraying.com. This powerhouse film will also be premiering and streaming live August the 18th at the 3-day event Consciousness Beyond Chemtrails Conference. And visit cbclive2012.com for more details. And by all means, visit whyintheworldaretheyspraying.com.
Make a promise, take a vow, and trust your feelings, it's easy now. Understand the voice within, and feel a change already beginning. Oh, tell me again.
And we're back from, I guess that's our third break. I tell you, I'm starting to get a little dizzy from the breaks, Sterling, but, let's not waste any time. Let you take it away. Get back to your points. We were talking a little bit about this new patent law thing, and my final take on it is that this is a fundamental change in the way we recognize the ownership of intellectual properties. Perhaps you could expand on that just a little bit, but let's not waste too much time on this because I know you got other issues, and I think this is our last segment.
Yeah. Well, it's very disincentivizing for people who want to do new things, and it needs to be reversed. We need to go to our legislators and say, I don't know what you were thinking on that one, but let's get rid of that one. That was bad stuff. So I'm going to be calling Hatch tomorrow probably and railing on them, asking what were they thinking when they did that, and how can we get that thing undone? I'd be curious to know what kind of negative feedback they've gotten from that, because they obviously didn't think it through before they passed that one. Absolutely.
How much press has there been on it in our mainstream media? I mean, is anybody in the media making a big deal of this, or is it confined to the blogosphere?
I would imagine the latter. I've gotten a few links that my brother gave me to as I prepare an article about this. But yeah, you don't look to the mainstream media to get any kind of leadership, any kind of true important stuff. And I think everyone on this show knows that. The Rents Network is awake enough to know that the mainstream media is not where it's at.
So bottom line is, people out there who take this issue seriously, we should encourage them to get on their elected officials. They used to be public servants, but I hear nowadays that they have, retitled themselves elected officials. We're going, Politburo style now. But they should get after their elected officials about this rule, because frankly, it's going to impact the productivity of the process of invention for us all, and make it much more difficult for the backyard, basement, garage inventor to be recognized for their genius.
And I can't help but think that maybe there's some subversive stuff going on here from the powers that be, of which Orrin Hatch is definitely one. There's no doubt about that. I've been tracking the New World Order and all this stuff for a few decades, and Orrin Hatch is definitely a New World Order puppet, a willful player. Yeah, a willful player in that game. And I've been saying for years that if we can get somebody to open source their design, you basically have a way of disempowering the powers that be by giving free energy to the world. All you have to do is download the plans, build it, and voila, you can power your home, power your car, etc. And I can't help but wonder, this law basically puts a death knell on that process, because now any modifications, any updates that are made, somebody could be trolling for that, go and patent it, and boom, they now have the right to sue the entire community over it. And I'm not sure how they would go after, or who they would go after on that, but you'd have to at least patent the original thing and then just stay ahead of the trolls. I don't know how they could patent or sue everyone if it's open source like that, but this really makes me pissed off.
Well, another way for the lawyers to make a lot of money. So what else is in the news? We probably shouldn't beat that one to death, but it's an important issue. I'm glad you brought it to the table. But what else do we have that we can finish out this session with?
Okay. I just got back from a visit down to Vegas to visit Intelligentry. They have a noble gas engine, supposedly, that they're working on, and supposedly going to be demonstrating a working engine for the first time publicly in December 11th through 13th at the PowerGen conference in Orlando, Florida. And supposedly that will be their cannonball splash, where they will let the world know that they've got a solution to the energy problems of the world. The problem is that they have never shown a working device to even the manufacturers who are supposed to be building this thing, and are going on very little information. And I was impressed with my visit down there. I met the team. I felt like they're all genuine, sincere people who want to make the planet be a better place, believe in the overall concept, and believe in John, the head honcho there, John Rohner. And so I walked away pretty upbeat, But in the pursuing dialogue that has taken place with some, in that article about my visit down there, I talked about some 12 concerns that had been brought to my attention by some of the manufacturers that I've been talking to his credit, at the permission of John Rohner, who is the one, running this whole show. He gave me some contact info, and I've been talking to some manufacturers, and they had some concerns such as, how do you keep the gases from leaking? There's some vibration issues with this design. This is not ready to go into production. He said, fine, this is just a demonstrator then. We'll have you guys come up with a better design. Anyway, they had a number of concerns, no signed contracts, conflicts and territory overlaps of telling one person one thing, another person another thing, and you shouldn't have conflicts in territories when you're giving licenses.
Now, to be fair, I should mention that this is one of the projects that my guest last week, Mark Dancy, took a pretty skeptical view on. He was, kind of, pretty standoffish on this one. Now, it's almost sounding like you and Dancy are feeling similar. You're feeling about the same on this. Are you saying you have some severe skepticism as to whether or not they'll meet their December target to show an operational noble gas engine?
I have pulled them out of the top 5. They're in position 7 right now and dropping.
Okay. I think enough said. We got our fingers crossed. We hope they show us something. But right now, the skeptic in me is jumping up and down, yelling and screaming, saying, hey, I may not be from Missouri, but you're going to have to show me.
Yeah. And that's some very significant red flags going on here, too. I can't disclose everything that's been going on in our dialogues back and forth. Another thing I want to mention, the back room politicking that goes on in this world. Got a nasty email from a very high-level person in the free energy world warning my friend, Hank Mills, who writes for us at PESN, that he could be facing lawsuits and jail time over his encouragement and positive coverage of Andrea Rossi. That is total bunk. I've been talking to my attorney. He says that he is so out of line in saying that. You don't get criminal penalties for that kind of stuff. He's writing the best he can, doing the best he can, let alone, any kind of legal ramifications. If you're intentionally doing stuff, that's one thing. But if you're just being a sincere reporter, you do the best you can. And, anyway, just awful stuff.
Well, now, to be fair, Rossi does have his critics and his detractors. And, Rossi's another one where, we have high hopes. But, some of the proofs that have been put on the table are not satisfactory. But, as journalists, we report what's out there as completely and as truthfully as we possibly can. A lot of times the information we present is based on press releases and so forth from these firms. And, frankly, it's news. So we report it. It's not for us to vet every piece of news that comes down the transom, and I can't imagine how Mills would be held, at risk for presenting the news as best he knows it.
Nope. Yeah, the guy was totally out of line in saying
that. I think I know the critic you're talking about. I've taken a small amount of heat from him myself.
Possibly. Does it start with a J?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, Jim, get your act together. You're out of line.
That's neither here nor there. Let's press on. What else we got?
Just wanted to mention that in the technology that had moved up into the top 5 as Intelligentsia has dropped out is a group that's been in there off and on over the years, ERR Flux Generator. I got to see a video the other day of this thing running on a tabletop with a clear glass cover that this device was sitting on, powering an 800-watt light bulb with no energy input.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's why they're in position number 5. They don't want that video out there yet. And I'm guessing if I asked permission to mention what I just did, I probably would get a no. So I apologize to them in advance for not getting
They'll
asking
probably
for.
slap your hands for even putting them in the top 5, eh?
Yep. They like being low-key and off the radar. But it's they're the ones that back 10 years ago, 2002, in Japan, they had 20,000 units ready to go commercial, assembled, built, ready to send out the door. And the Japanese government put a cease and desist or something like that on them for quote-unquote safety concerns.
All right, folks, we're going to have to wrap it up for tonight. Sterling Allen from TESN.com, FreeEnergyNews.com. Thank you so much for being my guest. It was a pleasure. Folks, thank you much for listening in. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. I'm Gary Hendershot. It's at SmartScarecrow.com. That's where you'll find all my material. And folks, until next Monday, we're out of here. Y'all have a good evening.
Dad, he's got a lot of fear, I know, but enough pride inside not to let that show. My brother had a book he would hold with pride, a little red cover with a broken spine on the back. He hand wrote a quote inside: when the rich wage war, it's the poor who die. Meanwhile, the leader just talks away, stuttering and mumbling for nightly news to be played. The rest of the world watching at the end of the day, both scared and angry, like, what did he say?
Hey there. My name is Frank Bates. What I'm about to tell you in the next 60 seconds could get me in a lot of trouble. I just created a free video presentation at 123rens.com that exposes the electricity monopolies and government agencies for what they really are: incompetent, lying crooks that are counting on your ignorance and fear to keep your power bills criminally high. Some have called this a conspiracy. Others have called it a cover-up, and you'll be shocked to find out how deep the conspiracy goes. My video at 123rens.com exposes the truth and shows you the secret of how I beat them and how you can beat them too. Watch the controversial video that thousands of other smart patriots have already seen in the last 3 months. Go to 123rens.com and discover one weird trick to slash your power bill and protect your home. Go watch my video now at 123rens.com before they force me to shut it down. Again, that's 123rense.com.
Are you struggling to reclaim your health? Let me share my story quick. My nightmare of chronic fatigue, PTSD, and autoimmune issues cost me everything. A bankruptcy, loss of home, even my wife walked out on me with no hope in sight. A miracle happened after hitting my lowest point. I discovered ion and RNA drops. It literally saved my life. I want to share my story with you and offer you a trial-size mini bottle of RNA drops. Visit www.rnafreemini.com. Again, that's www.rnafreemini.com. It's time to take your power back now. You can also check out our ad online at rents.com. RNA drops.
You're listening to the Rents Radio Network, nationwide and worldwide on the net and at rents.com.
IRN, USA Radio News. I'm Hope Duggar. Republican leaders are lining up to condemn a Missouri congressman who said that women are able to prevent pregnancies in cases of what he called legitimate rape. Representative Todd Akin has apologized but says he will not drop his challenge against incumbent Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill.
The good people of Missouri nominated me, and I'm not a quitter. And my belief is we're going to take this thing forward, and by the grace of God, we're going to win this race.
A GOP official says the National Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee has pulled the plug on a $5 million ad campaign for Akin. Akin appeared on the Mike Huckabee Show, syndicated nationally by Cumulus Media Networks. A federal appeals court has ruled that Georgia law enforcement can check on the immigration status of criminal suspects who fail to produce proper identification. The court lifted a hold that it blocked that section of Georgia's 2011 immigration law. This is IRN USA Radio News.
We joined Medishare back when I lost my job that provided family health coverage. We really like the biblical approach of Christians sharing each other's medical bills, not to mention the cost savings. Last year, I was diagnosed with cancer, just a year after it took my dad. Needless to say, I was scared. I was so thankful for the way Medishare guided me through every step, choosing treatment, finding a doctor, and its members sharing all my medical bills. Over $72,000 so far. We would have had to sell our home. For us, Medishare has been a godsend.
Learn how you could save on your health care. For your Medishare information guide, call 866-89-BIBLE. Not available in Montana. Medishare, affordable biblical health care. Call 866-89-BIBLE. That's 866-89-BIBLE.
Stocks are ending the day just a little lower. The Dow Jones Industrial Average finished down 3.5 points. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ were off a fraction. Apple today became the most valuable company ever with a market value of $623 billion, surpassing Microsoft's record from 1999. President Obama is rejecting Mitt Romney's charge of running a nasty personal campaign.
Stumping in New Hampshire, Romney said the president's lying about his tax plan.
It seems that the first victim of an Obama campaign is the truth.
He says Obama's run a campaign of hate, especially with an ad in which a laid-off steelworker links Romney and Bain Capital to his wife's cancer death. At a White House news conference, Obama noted the ad was from an outside group, not his campaign.
I don't think that Governor Romney is somehow responsible for the death of the woman that was portrayed in that ad.
But he says he will keep raising sharp differences with Romney and says that is not out of bounds.
For the latest news and analysis, log on to IRNUSAnews.com.
Have you ever thought about saying goodbye to your job? Just walking into your boss and saying, I quit. Well, not long ago, a 39-year-old entrepreneur from a billionaire family spent $20 million in 3 years to find the best home-based business in North America. And right now, he's looking for people to help him turn this company into his next billion-dollar success story. So if you're serious about making money from home without having to leave your home, write this down. www.goherenext.com. Interested? Goherenext.com.
The mighty Mississippi is being laid low by the persistent drought gripping the nation's heartland. Low water has forced the closure of an 11-mile stretch of the river near Greenville, Mississippi. Nearly 100 vessels are awaiting passage. Dredging may be necessary, and navigation markers will have to be moved. She is being remembered for making millions laugh by making fun of herself. Her son found Phyllis Diller dead in her Los Angeles home. Diller, who was 95, spent nearly a half-century doing stand-up at nightclubs and on television. Her longtime manager says Diller died in her sleep with a smile on her face. Gas prices across the country continue to climb. Correspondent Shelley Adler has this report.
AAA says the national average price for the gallon of regular gas is $3.72. That's 5 cents more than 1 week ago and 29 cents more than a month ago. It's also 14 cents more expensive to pump gas than last year at this time. While the national price of the pump continues to rise, it's still 22 cents